Yeah, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. This is the guy from Pittsburgh saying hi to Bellgabbers everywhere. And tonight I'm just going to make a brief shout out. The Art Bell Paranormal Network has lots of podcasts. Some of them are good. Some of them, in my opinion, kind of suck. But one that's really good and I really enjoy, I spent 3 hours the other night listening. The next thing I knew, it was 6:30 in the morning, to Steve Warner's Dark Weekend. That's one of the podcasts on the Art Bell Paranormal Podcast Network. Really enjoyed it. And his website is darkweekend.com. He's got a great graphic of what I presume is the city of New York skyline on the background of his website. I'm envious. It's sort of like what I'd want to do for my channel. And if someone can do that for me, not the same kind of thing, but I have an idea for the background of mine, drop me a line in my email, valky2013@gmail.com. But Dark Weekend is riveting. Now, when you listen to it, you won't want to turn it off. He had the guy about these Russian climbers that disappeared in 1959. And sorry about that. It's driving me nuts. This thing's on my screen. I can't get rid of it. And, well, Coast had the same story. But Coast, I turned it off. It got boring. But Warner asked questions. What this, what's that? And you could tell the guy was truly interested, whereas a guy like George Norrie, or as I love to call him, Snort Story, just phones it in, and he doesn't even know half the time what he's asking. That's why George Norrie sucks. And by the way, we're still waiting. We're in month 2 of Art Bell this year, 1, and free Art Bell. So if you want to listen to a really good podcast, go to Steve Warner's darkweekend.com. I think you'll really enjoy yourself. And people on Bellgab are bemoaning the fact that the tech podcast that Art Bell had on the channel is gone. Well, while it dealt with paranormal matters, it wasn't really the Spec Sheet wasn't really a paranormal podcast dealing with tech. So I don't know if they had technical issues or not, but maybe that's why it's no longer on the list of shows that are on there. I don't know. Also, it's me. I find the women doing the podcast, their voices are really annoying. I don't know if it's because I don't hear many women broadcasters out there, or just they're really annoying. But I turn them off. I can't listen to them. And there may be people that turn me off and can't listen to me. Now, MV on Bellgab said, I called up the Spec Sheet last night without realizing, and I did a Norieism of my own, but that's because I don't always see what I'm looking at. Get tunnel vision or brain delirium or something. I was looking right at the screen and didn't notice it. I was listening to a broadcast from August where MB was moaning that people weren't calling up with audio clips to his site for testing purposes. And I said, I'll call him up and ask, what do you got to do to put this video clip in? Sorry. And then I realized halfway through the call that I was listening to a podcast from 4 months ago, so I felt like an idiot. Won't be the first time, and it won't be the last. And MV immediately piped up about his obsession with the box fans on my couch and the blankets. Well, MV, if I don't have the box fans, I roast, and if I don't have the blankets in here, I freeze. It's 39 degrees right now, or at least it was the last time I looked. Let me see if I can see in my dashboard. It's dropped 2 degrees. It's 37 right now. And it's going to be interesting next Wednesday. It's supposed to rain with 30 degrees at night. So I don't know if we're going to get snow or not. Here in Martinez and the area, the whole area is on a freeze warning, except for San Francisco, where it'll be 40 tonight. That's the garden spot. And they expect that on Saturday we're going to get snow in every major mountain and hill around here. And there aren't many. There's Mount Diablo, Mount Tamalpais, and the hills around Skyline Boulevard. I'm not sure what they call it, but I know that every time it snows down there, the kids go nuts. They build snowmen and start tobogganing and take their sleds or whatever they can and start going down the hills. They don't get snow very often in the Bay Area. But we're going to have a week of sub-freezing temperatures here in the Bay Area. So wherever you are, whether you're in Duluth with the 18 inches of snow or Colorado with the avalanche warnings, I hope you can stay warm and be safe, and don't go out unless you have to, because it's treacherous out there. And speaking of treacherous, one last thing for Bellgabbers. Talked to State Farm yesterday, got one of the bitchiest women I've ever talked to as a claims adjuster. Couldn't believe it. Kept interrupting me constantly. I felt like I was talking to Nori, and she wanted me to find out how much I owe on the car, what features the car had, and wouldn't let me tell her. Just kept interrupting me all the time. So she said that determines how much we get paid. Now, the same dealer has a 2008 Prius. We may go for that. I don't know how my girlfriend feels about it. She's reluctant to make payments all the time. But I told her, either you make payments, you don't have a car. So I don't know how it's going to go. Anyway, listen to Dark Weekend. Take a look at Bellgab for those who've never seen it. And we need to free Art Bell and get him back in the air. And I hope that somebody on these podcasting networks every once in a while could have Art on as a guest, and the callers could talk to Art, and it'd be almost like radio. Oh, one other thing I forget. I posted a post earlier, Masterflub Theater, about Nori and his constant Noriisms, his constant verbal gaffes and mistakes on the air. And George Nori is one of the bigger reasons why AM broadcasting is dying, because people are going to do their own podcast. They're listening to some things on Sirius XM, but they're sick of AM radio. And Nori has dragged the show down to beyond the depths of the boiling pits of sewage. JC would probably do a better show than any Nori show any night. And to give you an indication of how he's dragged it down, at its height, Art had over 500 stations and 10 million listeners. Nori keeps touting how he has more and more stations added to his network all the time for only 15 cents a day. But his listenership has plummeted. Instead of 10 million listeners, he's only got 3.5 million. So that ought to show you how people are staying away in droves. They're not listening to Nori. And if Art hadn't had the streaming problems and the call-in problems, he should have never gotten involved with Sirius. He should have done it out of his house, where he was already set up to take phone calls. But that's water under the bridge. And we know who the troll under the broadcasting bridge is. It's George Nori. and it always will be until he's off the air one day. We can only hope that Nap would take over the show if Art never came back to terrestrial radio. Well, guy from Pittsburgh, have a good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Oh yeah, and one last thing. I keep thinking one last thing, but I'm always, my mind is spinning with thoughts of what to say on here. There's so much to cover. The evil Jazmunda, yes, Jazmunda, but I call him Jazmundo also because he's evil in two different names. He's now training birds. An eagle in Australia managed to capture a video camera and flew 70 miles with it and took a picture of himself staring into the lens. So I guess the training of avian species in Australia for criminal enterprises is working. And I know that soon Jazmunda will be heading to New York City, and authorities are already looking out because back in Australia, he had trained little tiny baby penguins and turtles. Do that game where the guy comes out with the table and takes the balls and the walnut shells. Well, the turtles were the shells and the penguins the balls. And he was conning unsuspecting American tourists out of their money by trying to guess where the penguin was. So he'll probably be doing that in the streets in New York for extra money. So watch out for him and stay away from that Jazmunda. He's bad news. And he's going to import his evil criminal enterprises to New York City, which needs more criminals like it needs a hole in the head. All right, I'll catch you later, and tomorrow I should have my microphone, so maybe I'll sound a little better. I don't know if I'll look a little better, but I might sound a little better. Have a great night. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.